The Bitcoin Otter Radio Show.
Oh my God, I love you so much!
On 97.7 FM, The City.
Greetings, blessings, and good fortune, ladies and gentlemen. We're back here for another Thursday edition of the Bitcoin Otter Show on 97.7 FM, The City, KCYP in McAllen, Texas. We're here from the McAllen Creative Incubator. Stop by and see us if you're local. If not, I'll tell you about it sometime. Give me a call or something like that, or an email. Anyway, we got a lot to talk about today. We have a great show, but I want to tell you that I'm going to focus on an interview that I posted on Facebook a little while ago of one of my new heroes. Her name is Dr. Jan Halper Hayes. Hopefully we'll get to know her a little bit better throughout the next year and a half, 2 years, right? From now up until the momentous, basically the election of elections, which is going to be in 2024. So I'm here right now in the comments. Come on up. Whatever you want to talk about, we're ready for it. But what I want to bring up, okay, is this interview that happened on British TV. So before we do that, let's do the things that we usually do to apprise you, in case you haven't been paying attention, of prices. Not value, because remember, they manipulate gold and silver. So this is not the value of gold and silver. This is the price. $1,924 will get you an ounce of gold. $22.94 will not get you an ounce of silver, but that's what they say it's worth, because the premiums are so high right now, because it's not worth $22.94. It's worth much more. So Bitcoin is $29,400 for one Bitcoin, which of course you don't have to buy all at once. We can go over that if you want to learn about it. And the average mortgage rate, this is looking pretty dismal, ladies and gents. 30-year rate, 7.32%. Ouch. 15-year fixed rate, 6.62%. Okay. Now, this is the live show, ladies and gentlemen. However, we do record this. We do put it up on Facebook. As long as Facebook lasts, hopefully these will last, unless, we tell things that they don't want to hear. Anyway, we're going up on YouTube also. So, glad to entertain comments. I'm glad to entertain subjects that you want to talk about. If you want to email me at bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. Or send me a text or a call at the Bitcoin Otter phone, 737-256-9339. All right, we're going to get started. A few quick things, and then I want to launch into what it is I really want to talk about today. And then we're going to have an introduction for a new show coming on 97.7 FM, the Dr. Ed Show. Okay? So for right now, I'm going to tell you about court trial dates set for the SEC's case against Ripple Labs in the Southern District of New York. Ooh, Southern District of New York. What does that remind me of? Can you say corruption? Yeah, that's it. So anyway, that Ripple case, which is Ripple's the company behind XRP, ladies and gents. If you've heard anything about XRP, you know that these court cases are playing a vital role in whether those prices go up or down. Anyway, CoinDesk says the SEC likely to approve several spot ETFs, sparking next Bitcoin rally. Whatever. They're trying to, obviously, manipulate Bitcoin through ETFs, right? Let's see if they're successful or not. We don't know. We'll find out. Zero Hedge says credit card balances hit record above $1 trillion. Ladies and gents, as people go underwater, as families here in this country, in this world, go underwater, they increasingly use credit. Unfortunately. That is one of the weapons of the banks, especially the Federal Reserve Bank, which is not federal. It's private, ladies and gentlemen. It is private. So, 1 trillion, above 1 trillion, and it is pronounced as worsening. This is from Zero Hedge again. Here is the punchline of the latest report. As of June 30th, the Fed found aggregate household debt balance increased by $16 billion in the second quarter of 2023. Wow. This is amazing, ladies and gents, and it's sad because people can't pay the bills. Yeah, some of them have acted in, how should we say, Joe, a knuckle-headed fashion, okay? Got in a house they can't afford. got a couple vehicles they can't afford, and then they're like, well, how do I pay the electric bill? I'll put it on credit card. But there's also a lot of people who have wisely spent their money, try to save, but can't, and they got to go on to credit to pay bills. And it's sad, very sad, but it is, and this won't make you rest easier, but I just have to tell the truth, it is all by design. Here's something interesting. The Baltimore Sun editorial board tells everyone to keep calm amid CRE panic. CRE is commercial real estate. It is cratering in Baltimore. Oh, they're scared. They're very scared, and they should be because, well, they built towns like Baltimore, my old hometown, Buffalo, Cleveland, St. Louis, Chicago. I could keep naming them, but they build these towns, and then they just basically wreck them. San Francisco. Need I go on? No. They wreck them because of the policies. The policies are created by Marxists. They're, evil people, and evil results occur. It's predictable. Literally. Anyway, this is a joke. I would love to say it's a joke, but federal court declares Trump a flight risk in secret subpoena decision. Why was it secret? Because that Jack Smith guy wanted to keep this a secret from you and me. Because he basically subpoenaed information from Twitter on Donald Trump. And then, so that they can do whatever underhanded skullduggery they want to perform, they claim that Donald Trump is going to fly somewhere. He's going to hide somewhere, like you're going to hide Donald Trump. So the lower court stated that the district court found that there were reasonable grounds to believe that disclosing the warrant of former President Trump would seriously jeopardize the ongoing investigation by giving him an opportunity to destroy evidence, change patterns of behavior, or notify Confederates. Okay. Destroy evidence. We know what happened with the January 6th. I'm going to cover that. They destroyed their evidence. Again, ladies and gentlemen, projection from the usual suspects. Changing patterns of behavior. Has anyone known Donald Trump to change his patterns of behavior? He's been the same Donald Trump that we've always had. He's not changing. Or notify Confederates. Jeepers creepers. Confederates and the people that want to free this country from the usual suspects like Jack Smith in the court? No way. So Trump never doubted 2020 election was rigged, disputes Fed's claims. Just to bring you into this in case you're not paying attention. One of the reasons that the corrupt courts are going to use against Donald Trump to try and say that he was part of some criminal conspiracy was that at heart he believed that the results of the 2020 election were legitimate. Now, we all know that's not true. They know that's not true. But they know that there's enough people out there watching TV that might think it's true. So they're going to go for that. As big of a lie as it might seem. Now, I'm going to break this down real quick. The top 3 reasons to persecute Donald J. Trump, here they are. 1, to interfere in the 2024 election. They don't want him to win. They can't have him win. They know what's going to happen if he does. 2, distract the public to the explosives revelations of the Biden crime wave. It comes up all the time. There's new stuff coming up, Hunter doing coke in the White House, this and that, all that. Well, every time something like that happens, what do we get? Another indictment of Donald Trump, because they don't want us to look at, the criminal crime family named as, the Bidens and, the people behind them, the Obamas, right? They don't want us to look there. They don't want us to look there. So they indict Donald Trump again and they get all kinds of news. And also to demoralize, divide, and subvert any support for Donald J. Trump. Brian, you're on. Glad to see you, brother. Dan is on. Let's do it, says Dan. Yes, let's do it. Wait till you hear this stuff coming up, guys. Wow. Anyway, I want to go back to 2 weeks ago, where, as you well know, I like to highlight verses of the Bible. Because here at Bitcoin Otter and for 97.7 KCYP, the city, we are faith-based organizations. Okay? Now, this particular verse comes from Acts chapter 17, verse 4. Some of the Jews were persuaded by the preaching of the gospel and joined Paul and Silas, as did a large number of God-fearing Greeks and quite a few prominent women. I'm going to focus again, like I did 2 weeks ago, on that last part. Prominent women. Okay? Prominent women play a strong role. We're talking women, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not a biologist, but I know what a woman is. It's a human being that lacks a penis. And they are beautiful. They should be cherished, they should be valued, and they should be protected. Not beaten up by people with penises. They should be loved, cherished, and protected, and valued in just the way that Jesus Christ our Lord made them. Thank you. That being said, this woman I'm going to highlight right now is not prominent yet, but we're going to get there. Dan says, no matter the results of 2024, both sides will not support it. 2024 is going to be bad. Oh, and then he mentioned about women. They do menstruate. Men do not. Joe, have you menstruated lately? Never. No, thank God. That is, yeah. So, we don't have to be biologists to know the difference. Anyway, women, we love you. And I want to tell you right now that this woman has become one of my new heroes. Her name is Jan Helper Hayes. She was on a British morning show, okay? And she let go with some truth bombs that very few of us even know about, much less expected to come onto a broadcast television show, okay? I've been studying this stuff, this craziness, since around... I've been studying a lot of things, but this particular crazy Donald Trump phenomena, he's taken back the country, the good guys are winning, all this good stuff. I've been following this from, of course, when he was elected, but especially since 2017. And since then, we've learned, those of us who have been paying attention, have learned about many things. And they are true. I believe them to be true. But you cannot get this stuff out on the airwaves. You cannot get this truth out on social media because they will ban you. They will block you, ridicule you, attack you with bots, etc., etc. Now, this woman went on a British television show. She's some sort of representative there in Britain for, I guess, Republicans, or she was at some time. I think she was at some time. Now she is not. But as she stated herself on the interview, she is on a task force for the DOD, Department of Defense. Now, let me, and I posted this on my Facebook, and I also put it onto the KCYP 97.7 FM Facebook channel, Joe Martinez. It's on his feed also. The interview, and it's a 9-minute interview of Dr. Jan Helper Hayes. Ladies and gentlemen, this woman is dynamite. Let me give you a few details here. So this is from the Gateway Pundit, and what they're focusing on is a Trump Truth. So you got Truth Social. He dropped this, which amplifies Dr. Jan Helper Hayes' claim in Truth Social post. That's what Trump did. So she, and Trump has, suggested Space Force has the evidence of the 2020 election fraud. Trump knew it, and he knew if he presented any of the goods early on, we would have a civil war. Ladies and gentlemen, this is absolutely true. This is one of the reasons why a certain intel board, by the 17th letter of the alphabet Q, has told us that it had to be this way. Because you can't tell people the truth. You must show them the truth. Okay? Now, Helper Hayes pushed back against the widely held belief that Trump's case is based solely on political conspiracy theories, arguing that there are significant questions about election integrity that require attention. This is from the Gateway Pundit. She further contended that the current indictment has inadvertently given Trump a platform to present his case and expose possible election irregularities. Ladies and gentlemen, you really would benefit watching this interview. Okay, and again, I posted it prior to this show on my Facebook feed. Will be the interview of, I don't know, Great Britain on America. I don't know what it ever is. It's a morning show on British TV. But she totally dismantled this, how do I put it? This simp. He's a simp, right? Because, well, he does exactly what his masters tell him to do. And he had his talking points in front of him. So does his charming and beautiful assistant. To no avail. To no avail. Because Dr. Helper Hayes tore up any stupid argument that he had. And he had a couple. Anyway. So she also, ladies and gents, I'm telling you, this woman dropped some bombs. She also further delved into Executive Order 13848. Please become acquainted with this executive order, please. 13848, which was enacted by Trump in September of 2018, arguing that it was designed to combat foreign interference in U.S. elections with a focus on the 2020 elections. Oh, and did it ever focus on the 2020 elections? When you hear Donald Trump say, we have it all, it's true. It is very true. And she highlighted this. Dr. Helper Hayes highlighted this in that interview. Now, I made a short list here of the top bombshells that one of my new heroes, Dr. Jan Helper Hayes, dropped in this interview on British TV. The Space Force has it all. All of it. Ladies and gents, and she alluded to Snowden, right? Snowden showed us what government does to basically spy on us, right? So if they're doing it to us, what do you think happens during an election? What do you think happens during an election, ladies and gents? They're watching everything. They got it. They got it all. They have all of the overseas transactions, okay? All of the data that went from here to there and there and there. Now, you may or may not have heard, our election data via those corrupted machines, Dominion machines, went to Germany, went to Spain, went to even, I believe, Iran or Iraq, one of those two, and of course to China, the people who own it all. Okay? All of our election data went there, to those different places. They interfered with our election, and they're going to pay the consequence. That's going to happen. Dan says, Trump can have discovery and subpoena. Yes, exactly. And that's where this woman went. That's where we're going to go. It's going to be, like Donald Trump said, the trial of the century, because he's going to litigate it again, the 2020 election, which he never had a chance to do. Jack Smith paved the way for Trump to publicly litigate 2020 fraud. He has a right to discovery. His team will dig up the efforts, okay, of the 2000 Mules movie, of the people that basically blew open the doors, okay? Greg and Catherine blew open the doors of all this fraud, right? Maybe he can even go into the whole Arizona thing. I don't know. But he can litigate it all. He can explain step by step, blow by blow. He's going to do it, and it's going to be awesome. We're going to see what happens. We might even have a communication breakdown. Somebody has told us about that. Anyway, so she also revealed that she sits on a task force for the Department of Defense. And that she didn't reveal this, but she was actually on Trump's 2016 transition team. Okay? They got the receipts. That's right, Dan. They do have the receipts. Better believe they have the receipts. They got it all. All of it. And that's why they fear Trump. Okay? That's why these Hollywood stars. That's very, I'm in satire here. Stars. They're not stars of
everything you're doing.
But corruption.
If you're overweight and over 45,
that's why they hate Trump, because they're all involved in the whole Epstein thing, the Washington, D.C. to Hollywood human trafficking thing. It's a mess, ladies and gents. She also said that Trump feared a civil war if the truth got out quickly. Of course. They could have acted. Okay. Do you remember when shortly after the inauguration, the usual suspects, the criminals, the criminal syndicate, the deep state, they erected fencing and all that kind of stuff. They even had the National Guard sitting in parking garages, and they were feeding them pizza, and it was ugly. Very disrespectful, but they did that because they thought that.
Well, let's talk to Jan Helper Hayes, who's
the patriots of the United States of America were going to storm the White House, storm the Capitol, do all these things to take back what they had stolen, to take back our country for we the people. They feared that, so they erected all that stupidity. But the fact of the matter is, these people are smarter than that. The good guys are smarter than that, okay? So they knew that if that were to happen, there'd be a civil war on their hands. They didn't want that. So what do we have as an alternative? We have 4 years of war, ugly inflation, scandal, everything that you would expect from a Marxist regime is on display, ladies and gents. And we all get to see it. And we all feel pain because the economic pain is real. when you go to the grocery store, when you go to the gas pump. It's real, ladies and gents. It's there, and we all feel it. It's ugly, but it's there. So, this is the way you wake up a people. Andrew Jackson did it back in the day because he knew that in order to kill the bank, the second central bank in the United States, we're on the third. Those crooks did it 3 times, and this one is stuck since 1913, and they've ravaged our economy. They made our lives miserable with the Gestapo wing of the U.S. government called the IRS. Okay? They'll steal your furniture, man. Anyway, this is another point that I'm making that she dropped. Listen to this, guys. Biden is legitimate. He's the legitimate president, but he's the legitimate president of the corporation, the bankrupt U.S. corporation. Ladies and gents, this is so deep that I didn't discover this until a few years ago. I'm telling you, we are a corporation. The United States of America is a corporation. Why would they do that? Because that way they don't have to use laws of the land. They don't have to use the Constitution. We are under corporatocracy, a corporate law structure, because they incorporated the United States. It came from a treaty with England in 1871. She went there. Ladies and gents, she mentioned the 1871 treaty where we owed what they call Great Britain. Okay, we owed them who knows how much, and we've been under this structure since then. So what Donald Trump did was he said, no more. We are free from that. We are once again a republic under the Constitution of the United States of America, written back when this nation was founded. So we are a constitutional republic once again. And the true president of that constitutional republic is Donald Trump. The true president of the corporatocracy is Joe Biden. Okay? Are you getting this? I don't know. There's a lot here. Okay? There are books written on this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, by people much smarter than me. Please don't think I've invented this. If you want to talk about this more, if you want more about this, please, bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. I will give you plenty of places to look to corroborate all of this, and you will see it in black and white. In addition to the fact that you can look up the Treaty of 1871 in any history book. Now, you might not get the details of it because, well, we know who writes history, the usual suspects. But if you dig far enough and in the right places, you will find all of the dots to connect to let you know that this is true. She dropped this. It is not a lie, nor is it a conspiracy theory. So Dan says, bankrupt corporation of D.C. Absolutely. The District of Columbia is not part of our country, ladies and gentlemen. It's not. How do I know? Well, it's also a part of the country that owes income taxes. Anyone who derives a check, a wage from Washington, D.C. has to pay income taxes. Anybody who lives in Washington, D.C., resides there with an address, must pay income taxes. The rest of you, you don't have to. That's right. You don't have to. You want more information on that? bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. Again, I'm not making this stuff up. She didn't say that. I'm telling you. Now, the Treaty of 1871, also known as the Treaty of Washington, was an agreement between the United States and the United Kingdom. The two nations were aiming to settle disputes that had lingered since the American Civil War. They helped us out. Well, I guess they helped out the North. I don't suspect they helped out the South. We'll just leave that there. Another point that I want to highlight, and then we're going to go and we're going to introduce a new show here on KCYP The City. It's called the Dr. Ez Show. But I want to drive this home. Please consider this. Trump reinstated the country as a republic by signaling the Queen of England. You're like, Otter, what are you talking about, the Queen of England? You may, probably don't, but you may remember when Donald Trump was ridiculed, mocked, because he stepped in front of the Queen on one of his visits. I think it was his last world tour when he basically told the world that, hey, the United States has it all under control. The Republic, that is. Now, he actually
let's talk to Jan Halper Hayes, who's a US political analyst. And he's here in the studio. Good to see you, as always.
Good to see you. Jan Helper
There's so many
Hayes
people
went there.
putting this down as a
Because these
political
are important
conspiracy
truths,
theory.
ladies and
But actually,
gentlemen,
there are
that
real
don't
questions
get
to be
broadcast.
answered here.
And I don't even know
Yeah, of course there are.
if that British...
Of course there are.
I don't even know, really, if that British broadcasting network even knew what they were doing. They were dropping gold, ladies and gentlemen. They were dropping truth gold. And they knew they weren't supposed to. I don't even think to this day they knew that what was going on, what she was actually going to drop. So, she explained what really happened there, which was that Donald Trump made a wave of the hand, a gesture, small but significant, for the Queen to walk beside him. She assented and either did so or I can't remember if she lagged back, but ladies and gentlemen, it was a message. They now know. The people who need to know. Let me put it this way. Let me rephrase. The people in positions of authority know. The people who really need to know are now figuring it out. You and me. Some of us a little faster, some of us a little slower. But I'll tell you what, we need to bring our brothers and sisters up to speed because people need to know this stuff. She explained it perfectly. Now, the last thing is, and this is beautiful, this is wonderful. She basically told them that when Donald Trump put the world on notice, he also put the Vatican on notice because in some way, this Treaty of 1871, for whatever reason, incorporated the Vatican. So you had the U.S. on one side that owed, you had the country of England that was the debtor too, okay, the debtor, right? The United States owed England, and for some reason, the Vatican interject themselves, and they made themselves the intermediary, okay? I don't know how it all happened. I haven't studied it. It's just, this is still new. This interview came out this week, and we're going to give you, Joe, are we going to be able to give that interview okay, so what I hope is going to happen is Joe's going to play this interview. Okay, again, it's 9 minutes long, but it's 9 minutes of your life that you will love. You will say, wow, this is some of the best 9 minutes I ever spent in my life. Okay, and during that time, okay, we're gonna mute the mics and stuff. We're gonna bring in Dr. Ez, and I'm gonna introduce her show to you, and she's gonna be coming up on the 97.7 roster of shows. Okay, 97.7 FM, the city here in McAllen, Texas. And she's going to be coming up, but I'm going to introduce her. Now, that said, it's going to be 9 minutes that you're going to enjoy.
Well, let's talk to Jan Helper Hayes, who's a US political analyst. And he's here in the studio. Good to see you, as always.
Like a bull
Good to
goes
see
right
you.
through their facade. It's amazing. So before we do that, let me highlight this last thing that she said. And you're going to see this in the interview. It's amazing. So she's like, you should have seen the face of the Pope. And they have it on video. The face of the Pope. When America, the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, the republic, the constitutional republic of the United States, the true president of which is Donald J. Trump, and she says it took 650 planes to do this. They took back the American gold from the Vatican. 650 airplanes, ladies and gentlemen, and depending on those planes, they could have been C-5s, Galaxies, Air Force style, huge planes. You could fit a cargo plane inside of that C-5. Ladies and gents, they took back the gold. We've got the gold. 650 airplanes to take back our gold from the Vatican that they were holding in some sort of nasty, ugly, very, very much tamped down private and secret agreement in 1871 that isn't a secret anymore. Because we know. Thank God for patriots like Dr. Jan Helper Hayes. I salute you, ma'am. Thank you. These are the types of people that have been working behind the scenes for our republic for years now. Some of them soldiers that have fought and died for our cause. We can't always say that about the wars that our politicians get us in. The bankers, because all wars are bankers' wars. But they are fighting. We are fighting. Come up alongside us. Be part of this fight. We're not talking about bullets and bodies, ladies and gentlemen. Firearms, not necessary. You need your brain. You need to be able to show people and tell people what the truth is by this clown world that's going on around us. I can help you put the dots together. bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. You got somebody you want to talk to? You want things you want to learn about? You want to show them how the things are? Please contact me. Dan, you got that right. So Dan says every president since 1900 has gone to Vatican immediately after receiving the office. Why? Why? They got our gold.
Well, let's talk to Jan Halper Hayes, who's a US political analyst, and he's here in the studio. Good to see you, as always.
Good to see you. Ladies and gents, we're going to show that interview, and I'm going to come back afterwards. It won't take up a lot of your time, but I want to introduce you to Dr. Ez. You can check out her show. Let's see what we got. Joe, break into the recording, and then we'll mute the mics.
Well, let's talk to Jan Halper Hayes, who's a US political analyst, and he's here in the studio. Good to see you, as always.
Good to see you.
There's so many people putting this down as a political conspiracy theory, but actually there are real questions to be answered here.
There are?
Yeah, of course there are. Of course there are.
What he's being accused of, but what part do you think is to answer that the 2020 election is going to be litigated because of this? They've made a huge, huge mistake with this one, because even though we thought what was going to happen was they were going to go after him for treason or sedition, but they did criminally charge him, but they didn't go to that extreme. As a result, he has due process, so he can subpoena people and bring things in. Now, let me say something about this 2020 election, is that Biden is the legitimate president, but he's the legitimate president of what is now the bankrupt U.S. corporation. And that was a treaty in 1871. Well, on September 12th, 2018, Trump created an executive order. Within that, he outlined in future elections any kind of foreign or domestic interference, specifically for the 2020 election. So we say, how did he know some of these things were going to happen? Election integrity on both sides of the aisle is tough. It's really tough. But what this has done is it's opened the door for Trump to present his case.
Well, that's a good thing, isn't it? Because what we see on this side of the pond is a very difficult situation where the legal system is politicised in the United States, which is abhorrent to us over here. So the fact that Trump can subpoena, some people saying it's a mistake by Jack Smith, but actually he can subpoena, people can actually see evidence from both sides. That's a sensible move. Exactly.
And it's a great mistake by Jack Smith that he's done that. Absolutely great. See, the thing is, think about Edward Snowden and all the information he had. Think about the fact that our military, our Department of Defense Space Force, if you think that they don't have the actual real results from the election, then you're fooling yourself.
Yeah, but what we do know with this is we're told that there are plenty of notes from people, including Vice President Pence, that there are some recordings of Donald Trump acknowledging that actually what he said in public was nonsense. That some of these states, whether he claimed he was out saying look, Detroit, it's corrupt, it's all corrupt, the results are corrupt. And that when in reality he knew it wasn't. That's illegal.
But you know what? That's what someone's claiming, but that's not the fact, and that's not what Donald Trump really has ever said. He's been very, very clear. I mean, the issues were, for example, in Pennsylvania, the Supreme Court of the state of Pennsylvania stepped in and changed some of the election laws. Under our Constitution, it's only the state legislators that can do that. 2,000 Mules, the film that came out, what they did, they spent over $4 million tracking the phones. And the reason it's only 2,000 mules is that based on the visits to the drop boxes in Georgia, they had to have gone over 10 times. And they've got all the film for that. So the thing is that the election integrity is so different and so problematic in every single state. But that doesn't mean that the machines didn't do something, that there were some other kind of finagling. But the long and short... Go ahead.
Well, it doesn't, but that's where conspiracy comes in, is it? To say, well, it doesn't mean that something didn't happen. Well, there's no evidence that it happened. I mean, there's how many court cases did the Trump campaign try to bring? Nothing's gone in his favour.
Okay, wait a minute. Everyone, the media goes, oh, there were 60 court cases that were rejected. No, there were 3. He won 2, he lost 1. 57 were never heard because they had no standing. And standing means that the person bringing the case has to claim some kind of impact or injury. So it's really, the media did that, and they're great at doing that, but it was a fallacy in there. And the thing is that, I sit on a task force at the Department of Defense, and the thing is, they've got the goods. They've got the goods. And Trump knew that if he presented any of the goods early on, we'd have a civil war. That he really felt that the people needed to see how bad it could get.
And that's the sense that we're getting from Trump's lawyer about what his defence is going to be. So this is all going to be based on free speech, the First Amendment in the US Constitution, that he had a right to say what he believed. And he believed that the election results were not as was put out. But the point is, if you live in a democracy and you believe in a democracy, then that means that even if you don't like the outcome of an election, you respect that because it's a democratic vote.
Well, a democratic vote, and so therefore he should be silent about it.
He has a right to speak, but the issue, of course, is if he then acts to subvert that election result.
Oh, so that because you think he's being criticized because in Georgia he said, can you find me 12,000 votes? Or, the thing is, he didn't try to subvert anything. What he's really done is he set up the deep state to come out, and that's why we're seeing all these things. I mean, it was revealed with whistleblowers and Hunter Biden's ex-best friend that in 2015, the head of Burisma gave Joe and Hunter Biden $10 million bribe. In 2018, Joe is on TV publicly saying that he threatened that unless they got the prosecutor fired, that he wasn't going to let them have their $1 billion in support. In 2019, Trump calls Zelensky to find out about what went on to get the prosecutor fired, and he gets impeached. I mean, we've lived with it for a long time.
We're almost out of time. I just want to pick you up on one thing. You said earlier on, Donald Trump has been very clear on this. Is he a man that you believe? I mean, look, he's about as believable as a chocolate teapot, isn't he?
Look, I know that, thank God you got the negativity in at the end and not the beginning. I can always count on you for that, always.
But it's a legitimate point to say that Donald Trump is a man who always speaks the truth. That can't be the case. I mean, it's hardly the case of any leader, to be fair, but, I mean, definitely not Donald Trump. Well,
I don't know if I said everything or always, because I do call him the embellisher-in-chief, because he's a marketer. But in terms of telling us things, optics, you better believe that he's very much a straight shooter in terms of actions that he's going to take or what he thinks needs to be done. They made fun of him because they assumed he broke protocol and walked in front of the Queen. No, if you go back and look at it, you will see he looked at her. She gave a wave with her hand. He proceeded. She took a couple of steps, he stopped, and he waited for her to join. That was an optic to tell us that he then was going to bankrupt the U.S. corporation because it was the Vatican, the Crown, and the U.S. that was part since 1871. And we were giving you our tax dollars. We were paying back. Forget this Tea Party and without taxation, without representation. We owed you a lot of money because you helped us in the Civil War. And so that is what Trump has now, he told the Queen, I'm ending this. We're dissolving this corporation. We're going to go back to being a republic and we'll all be separate. The Pope wasn't happy. You should find the picture of him visiting the Pope. It took 650 planes to remove our gold from the Vatican Bank.
I'm not very happy about it, Jan, to be perfectly honest. We could do with your money at the minute. Keep it flowing, I say. Jan Halper-Hayes, really good to see you. Thank you very much indeed.
You too.
And we're back, ladies and gents. I really hope you enjoyed that. I really do, because there's so much information there. There's so much golden data that she dropped there that has an effect on our republic, our constitutional republic, that it's worth diving into. Now, we have a special guest today, Dr. Ez, and she is going to have a show, and we'll let her explain all about it, here on KCYP The City 97.7 FM out of McAllen, Texas. So, Dr. Ez, you go right ahead and you explain to us what your show is going to be all about.
Yes, this is Dr. Flores with the Dr. Ez Show. I've been out of commission for about a year. I was running for Hidalgo County Judge, so I was out for about a year, but I'm back. I'm back with my show, the Dr. Ez Show. And
Awesome.
I am part of the
lineup, the roster of KCYP 97.7 shows.
Yes, that's
awesome.
right.
Awesome.
97.7 with Joe Martinez, my friend.
Absolutely. Our friend and brother, Joe.
Yes. So tonight I have a little bit excerpt about what my show is going to be resuming. And I feel that the country as a whole, the way it is right now, is in need for the family unit, to be united.
Very much
What do you
agreed.
believe?
Very much agreed. And it has been under attack. And everyone knows that the nuclear family is a stable, very, very firm base for any society to be built upon.
I agree. And that's when I first started to have the vision for this show with 97.7 with Joe Martinez, the executive producer. We've worked along together for the past couple of years, and we are very like-minded in the way we believe about the family unit. So I am very privileged and very honored to be here tonight with you guys. And I anticipate that this will not be the first show. There's going to be more shows to come. And I appreciate the invite tonight. And
Absolutely.
And let's go on with the show.
Do we have a scheduled slot yet, Joe? Is there a scheduled slot?
It's
Okay,
in
so
the making.
we'll keep you updated here on the Bitcoin Otter Show.
It will be certainly on Thursdays, and it's in the making. And I'm going to be dealing a little bit or touching base with the family unit, which is something that I have studied. I have a doctor's degree in education, and I have primarily dealt a lot with parental involvement, and specifically with the family unit. So that's what we're here to talk about this evening.
Excellent. So in my observation, the family unit of pretty much every demographic in our country has been harmed in some way, shape, or form by what I call the usual suspects, okay? And when I say that, I mean mostly bankers. Not the bankers here in the RGV, not your local guy that you talk to, the manager, you can open up an account with him or her. Not those bankers. I'm talking about the Federal Reserve central banking system. Why? Because our monetary system is based on debt. So, this is my opinion, by the way. I don't want to bring Dr.
I agree
Ezen
with you. No, I agree with you.
into my jackpot here.
No, I do agree that since we are talking about the family unit and we are talking about families, and of course, all the monies that are involved right now when we think of the corporations or we think the banks or we think of the Federal Reserves, there's a lot that we don't know yet that is very important for us to research and find out and listen to people
Amen.
that have done that. And so I agree incorporating that in my program to up again this session that we're going to be covering with the families, because this is a core part of the families in the United States right now. And of course, it's something that's very, very structural, that has to be structured in the sense that our monies are very most important. And we need to know what's happening. We need to know where we're at and where we're going, where we came from, and where do we plan to go, so that we can have some kind of a uniformity there that will take care of our families in the future and be okay. What do you believe?
I believe that was very well said. One of the things I also believe is, and you may not believe, again, I'm not going to bring Dr. Ez into my jackpot. I believe that families will be fine if the government just stays out of their business.
Of course, of course, of course. And you know, those are some of our politicians that are running for office right now that have the same understanding. And of course, we're behind them. We're behind them because this particular people really know about how monies are made, how they're reproduced, where they're going. And so they've done a lot of research for us. And so we need to line up and back in, that thought, because as a country, we need to have a lot of protective gear in our pockets so that we can go forward, in protecting the rights of how this country was first built.
Amen.
And why it was decided
Right.
that in God we trust, and that God would be the one that would be showing us where we need to go, where we've been, where we are, and where we need to go. What do you believe?
I believe that the founding documents of our country outlined many different points at which time the government would be limited to doing against the people, the families.
And I think that we need to go back to that. I think we need to reiterate all those thoughts that were present at the very beginning, because they're kind of sliding down a little bit, but we cannot allow it. We cannot allow it because this is the greatest country that has ever
Yes, ma'am.
existed in the face of the world. And we have to keep it that way. And these are some of the things. How do you want to make sure that some of the deficits are there? Well, of course, through our monies and our money structure. And that's where we're going to be, where we are under attack right now. And we don't want to be there. We don't want it to crumble. We don't want it to fall. So we have to be doing these things as a foundation so that we can know where we're at, where we were before that was very prominent, and what made us great as a nation, and how we need to stay there and not be tumbled down. So we're in a very crucial point in our lives, in our state, in our country right now, and we need to be made aware of what we need to be looking for and what to protect and what to be part of. What do you believe?
I believe that's one of the callings that God in this portion of my life has brought to me, making people aware of where we are and how we got here. The crumbling of the United States is much the cause of the attack on the family unit.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely right. Because you see, in the beginning, is how we started this nation with a constitution and everything that was formed at those beginning days, the 13 colonies, the families that came, and lived and started this country. There were families. There were family
The
units.
much maligned Puritans.
There were the Puritans, and there were family units. And in order for us to go forward, where we're right now, it's being touched. And there's a lot of things that are happening right now that we need to protect. We need to protect. So where do we start from? I believe that a very, very good starting point to continue that strong foundation is our monies.
Yes, and let me go into real quick, and you may or may not agree with me, but I remember a conversation by a Hollywood guy. He was a director of a couple shows, movies. The most common one was Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd, right? So his name was Aaron. I can't remember his last name, but he somehow sparked up a conversation or friendship with one of the Rockefellers, David Rockefeller. And David Rockefeller told him one time in a conversation, "Hey, what do you think about women's lib, Aaron?" And Aaron said, "Well, I think that's great. I think that women are as valuable as men. I think that they are capable of doing what men do. I think that they should be able to, shoot for the goals that men have. That's great." And David Rockefeller turned to him and says, "Well, that's not what we did it for." And he says, "Well, what do you mean?" He says, well, now we have 2 workers in each house. We get to tax 2 people in each household. You're going to need 2 vehicles for each house. You're going to need 2 wardrobes for the business that your wife is now doing. You're going to have 2 different exits of your money. Expenses, yes.
Expenses
yes.
that were not thought of at the very beginning when the first family core unit was first started. So I believe somehow or another that brought a certain kind of division that we were not anticipating.
Thank you about that word division.
And I believe that it started then. I do believe that it started then. And now it's kind of railroaded, and we don't know where we are going to go with that. But I believe that that's why I'm doing my program, with the Dr. S show in the unit of the family and parental involvement. I believe that we need to go back to the core values of how we became so great as a nation. And one of those units or components had to do with the family structure. And we need to protect that and go back to some of those structures that we had at the beginning.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. I for one am looking forward to your show. If I can be of any assistance, please let me know.
Thank you.
Because wow, anything we can do, ladies and gents, anything we can do to bring back the structure of the nuclear family, I think is a great thing. Because we do have a lot going against us right now, right? We have these crazy people telling us that our little girls and boys can just switch out of nowhere.
That's right. And I think that we don't even know how we got to that point. We don't know how we were able to let that happen. And those are some of the things that we need to talk about. I believe, and dialogue, especially in my show, we're going to discuss some of those crumbling factors that are happening right now that have opened those doors to be able to attack the family unit the way it has been attacked. And we were not formed to do that. As a country, the founding fathers did not have those things in mind. They did not have those things in mind where there was going to be division. And so we need to really, really think about that. We really need to research that. We really need to talk about it to see what has that cost us as a country in 2023. What does it cost us? Where are we going? What are the possibilities of things that can maybe crumble because our money structure and our money system is being under attack, and we need to redirect.
Wow, that was. Can I say something on that? I do believe that our current money structure should crumble, and they are doing it purposely on their own. The banks are crushing us. They're crushing our economy, and they're crushing the U.S. dollar. Why? Because they have something in store for us already. And it came online 2 weeks ago, I think it was. It's an app that goes on your phone, and it will be the delivery module for the central bank digital currency. It's a web or blockchain-based currency, sort of like, but nowhere close to decentralized as Bitcoin is. But it will be controlled and programmed by them. They are setting us up, ladies and gentlemen.
See, what happens when things like that take into effect, or where they're taking that, it is hurting the family unit. That's what happens. And we cannot allow it to happen. We have to continue to have our family unit be strong with the components and the foundations, and in God we trust, and how we first started. And so we need to protect. We need to set up armors. We need to set up our flags and find that this is something we do not want to allow to happen, because it will bring division, and we don't want our families divided. We want our families united, like the Bible says, in God we trust, and united we will stand, and divided we will fall. And the way I see it right now, that only speaks about division, and that is not something that we need.
And one last thing, and I want to make sure, and I'm sure you're in agreement with this. We're not coming against any specific lifestyle that someone wants to live. If you are an adult, you live how you want to do. You do you. What you do in your home is no one's business. We are not trying to say this lifestyle is this, that lifestyle is that, right? We're there,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. But I go back to how we first founded this country. We founded this country in God we trust, with biblical principles. And what were the biblical principles that made us so strong? Okay? We need to go back and visit. We need to go back and visit in the family structure. It was the father, it was the mother, it was the children. And everybody got incorporated in that unit. You had your grandparents, you had your aunts and uncles, you had the religious center, you had the churches, you had the neighborhoods, you had the communities, you had the schools. Some of those things have begun to crumble. And we, people who believe in God, in United We Stand, and we believe in God, one almighty God, we need to go back to see and look at our country, how it was founded. Why did the Pilgrims come to the United States? Why did they do all the different things that they did to come here, risk their lives, and come here to build the families? I believe, and right now I believe families are under attack. And that is one of the main premises as to why I want to do this show. I want to be able to protect some of those rights as to what made us so great as a country. And I believe that the family unit, I know in my family, you know, I had my father, I had my mother. My father had 11 brothers and sisters. My mother had 12. I had a million cousins and uncles and aunts. But You know what? For a long time, and I lived in a little strip where there was a lot of uncles and aunts and stuff. But you know something, I was so quiet forever. But then one day I started talking about what it is that was important to everybody who was around me. And I believe that this is one of the purpose as to why I want to do my program and I want to be involved with this, is to be able to go back to that family unit, those family values as a country. And I'm here to serve, and I'm here to teach, and I'm here to help, and I'm here to be a partner in getting our families strong and together again.
Awesome. Ladies and gents, I am ready. I am ready to watch the show. About how many weeks? When can we look for the first show?
This coming week, this coming Thursday.
Okay, this coming Thursday. Awesome.
This is the introduction, but we're gonna land with our feet running.
Then we will be
for
watching.
the next 12 weeks.
We will be watching.
We'll have a series.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Ladies and gents, thank you, Dr. Ez. Thank you, Dr. Flores, for the Dr. Ez show, which is coming up next Thursday. And thank you for being patient. We value your time. We value your attention. And we value your opinion. Please let us know if we can help you out in any way in gathering your attention a little more, bringing up subjects that you would like to speak about or hear about or learn about. Please let us know.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I appreciate being in one mind and like mind, and what we do here at 97.7. And we thank you for joining in. And we just believe that it will be an interest to you, and you will continue to join our forces with 97.7 and do our program so that they can get out and we can protect and build our country with our families. And thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Let's go! This is the Bitcoin Otter Radio Show.
Oh my God, I love you so much!
On 97.7 FM, The City.